Good morning. Hello, everyone. Holla at you too. Hi, Mias. Good morning to you. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Ahmed. Hi, how are you doing? Trust we all had a wonderful night rest. Patrick, yes, we're going to be talking about gold, exactly. Sure, we will be talking about gold. We actually had the position run yesterday, but it appears we are going to be having a move back to the upside, the way structure is playing out presently. But we will still see. Can wait and see. Let's see how it goes. Khan is not around this morning. I'm here to see Khan in the chat. Khan, if you're around, say hello. All right, great. Um, with no much further ado, let's kickstart this. And the first thing we will do, as usual, is to share our. We should look at what we took yesterday, the trades we talked about yesterday. Let's see how well they're doing so far. After which we will talk about new positions. And at the same time, as we look at the previous trades we talked about yesterday, we will also see if we still have opportunities lining up for us. And if we do, we'll talk about that. And if we don't, we'll negate it and hold on till when we see something coming up for us. Okay, GBP. Of course, we will be looking at GBPUSD today too as well. WTI, I'm not sure if that is. If we have time, we can look at that. But I can promise you that we'll be talking about gold and we're talking about GBPUSD as well. So to start with, we want to be looking at the UK oil, which we talked about yesterday. And the first thing I will do is to remind you of what were our expectations were on the UK oil. Well, first and first is that remember I told you how I believe more in the long-term perspective on any commodity or financial instrument I look at. And we identified this bullish trend line, this temporary bullish trend line we identified here on the, I think on the 2 hours or 4 hours time frame, I guess. I think it was a 2 hour time frame we identified that trend line. Yes, we identified this bullish trend line where we saw that price has been respecting that trend line since we saw the retest of the major trend line we identified on the day time frame. We continue to see higher lows and higher highs until we saw this area. So we were at this area yesterday when we did our live session, and I said personally that based on a long-term perspective, I want to be looking for a breakdown of that trend line where I will be looking for a retest of the zone, then price move into that key level where I look for opportunities to go to the upside. However, I stated that for those who are not patient enough for this move, that is the long-term perspective, that there is a scenario we can look at on a lower time frame. After which we went down to the lower time frame. I think it's on the 15 minutes time frame, I guess. Yes, on the 15 minutes time frame. And I identified this key level at 114,200, where we said that we will be looking forward for, even this is still here. I said we will be looking forward. Price was actually here at that particular point in time, and I said we'll be looking forward to see a possible reversal structure rise above that key level, which happened anyway. And we saw price moved about how many pips was that? Moved around 120 pips move before we saw that that crash downward. So definitely, if anyone had taken this trade, definitely you would have moved your stop loss to break even, because that is very pertinent at that point. And I used to say, on a short-term perspective, things can change very, very swiftly, that you might not have time to make adjustments that is needed. So that's why personally I normally prefer doing the long-term perspective. So if I'm doing the short term, definitely I try as much as possible to move my stop loss as price action moves in my favor. Oh, Khan, glad to have you around. How are you today? So that is that on the UK oil. So we saw the breakdown of that, and if you are taking advantage of that, you see we saw the breakdown of that trend line, we saw the retest of that key level, we saw another retest of that key level, which gives us a structure that supports a downtrend continuation. So if you are taking this trade, kudos to you. That's how many pips thereabouts? That's over 300 pips. I think it still move. Yes, we have 300 pips, and prices come back into um we can see that after that move downward, we saw price appears to be doing a correction phase, where which looks more like a retracement into that key level area, where we'll be looking for another opportunity to take advantage of a sell momentum if it finally happens. And that is, remember yesterday we were looking at the key level at 109.30, where we are looking for structures that will support that bullish move we're expecting. So that is that on the lower time frame. So if we go closer to go up a little bit to the higher time frame and look at what structure is giving us on the higher time frame, we definitely have this scenario that we have an impulse leg here to work with at this point, which looks like this, and we want to project this impulse leg into the future, where we will be looking at a Fibonacci extension of that impulse leg with a profit target around 119 thereabout. So how do we take advantage if this bullish move happens? That is, if price does not come down to 109.3, definitely we will be looking for an opportunity to take advantage of that bullish momentum going forward. So the first thing first we look at is, after every impulse leg, we understand that there is a retracement phase. Okay, we'll look at US oil. We will look at it. And I think the US oil and the UK oil are very similar, but definitely we'll look at US oil as well. So with this impulse leg, we want to run our retracement tool through this impulse move, where we will be looking for a retracement into the golden zone area, where we will be looking for an advantage for that proposes a bullish momentum. So if we run our Fibonacci retracement tool and we have the golden zone right between 50% retracement and 78.6% of the last impulse leg. So we have a buy opportunity zone here on the 2 hours time frame. We have a buy opportunity zone within. Okay, hold on a second, please. Let's give this. So we have something like this. So we can delete our retracement tool right now since we no longer need it. So identifying that, we need to identify our take profit target as well. And that will be the extension of that impulse leg. And if we bring out our extension tool as well and run it through that impulse leg, we have something like this. So we will be aiming at 127.2% extension of that impulse leg, which will definitely look more like this. So we will be having 118 area as our take profit targets for the meantime, or probably 119. If you're 118 or 119, you can put yours at 119, but I'm looking at a maximum of 119 area. You can put yours at 118 if you don't mind. And we want to be looking for entry point right within the buy opportunities. So now that we have price appears to have tested that area, I think around 618, and we continue to see higher highs, which projected into something like this, and we will be looking for structures that will support a trend continuation to the upside. So how do we take advantage of this opportunity? So on the 1 hour time frame, the only thing we can decipher on the 1 hour time frame is that we can decipher the buy opportunity zone and we can decipher where our take profit target is going to be. However, if we really want to take advantage of that impulse, of that move, we need to first of all look out for a key level that will be our guide going into the New York session, the UK New York session. I think let me call it that way. So bringing out our line chart at this point and looking for structures where we can actually use to play around going forward, then we will be looking at somewhere around this area, which at one point in time has a level for selling opportunity and at the same time buying opportunity. And then we want to see that this level also has a character in the sense that we have either a breakout or a breakdown at this key level at one point in time in the past. So our key level is always gold. Let's give it that gold color. And then we have it right at which area? 112.5 thereabout, I think. So if you allow me to label this at key level at $112.500, we have it around here. So let's keep this at the top so that we can see what we've been talking about. So we now have a new key level at 112.500. So going back to our candlestick chart rather, since we have a key level at this area, we can see what I'm talking about at this point. We already have a breakout of that key level. We want to be looking for structures that will support a trend continuation to the upside. So for me at this point, it is safe for us to enter a position right above that key level, which for me will look more like this. So if I have our entry point around here, then we move it right into this area. And then you need to really check if you can afford the stop loss. And this depends on your account size. So you can really check if you can afford the stop loss, then that's around I'll prefer 110 at this point for my stop loss. Oh, that's too much. Let's look left and see where structure gives us. Okay, let's have it right below the last low. Right below the last low, and we'll be having around 180 pips as our stop loss on this one. So in addition to what we've discovered so far, it is appropriate to note that above key level 112.500 is the most appropriate place we want to take a trade, a buy opportunity, as anything below 112.500 will render this setup invalid, as we will be looking forward to a retest of this 109.300 for that buy opportunity. So allow me to extend this. I think 310 will be fine. Let me use 320. Okay. So, and the reason why we want to be looking for a retest of 109.300 if the setup here is disregarded is because of that impulse move that went. We saw this correction. We saw something like this. And if we definitely see a breakdown of that key level, we want to see a retest of that structure where we look for a quick rejection of this area, where we look for a reversal pattern that supports a trend continuation to the upside. So hold on a second, please. I'm just seeing a comment here saying that you can't hear the sound. Is that so? Give me a moment to confirm this, please. Can you hear me? I can hear myself on the other phone I have here using to monitor my activity here. I think the sound is okay. I'll rather suggest you check your audio settings. Okay, Lissika just confirmed that all is good at his end. Please kindly check your audio settings, please. Or probably reset your app to be with us on the same page. Good morning, hi Max. Hello, Gifty. Okay, Stone is saying sound is okay. Great. Okay, so let's move on, please. So this is what we'll be looking out for in the UK oil at this point. So permit me to look at a lower time frame, please, so that I can see what this pattern is doing at this point. Okay, we have something like this, yeah. So on the 15 minutes time frame, we can work with a trend line. We have a trend line already in lining up for us, a bullish trend line lining up for us that we can use to guide our action going forward. So let's have something like this for the meantime, and yes, let's have something like this for the meantime. So going back to my counter charts, then we will be looking forward to, okay. So what this simply means is this. Let me give this line a gold, because in addition to our key level at 112.500, we want to be using that we want to be using this trend line to guide our action going forward. So we want to be looking for opportunity lining up right above the trend line to support that bullish momentum we're expecting on the UK oil. I hope I've made myself clear on this one. I don't know if you have any clarifications or questions, or you need additions to this, please. Okay, Rani, good morning. So in the absence of none, I would like to move forward to the next pair. And we have Euro USD at this point. How well, remember during the course of yesterday we enjoyed this bullish move. We enjoyed this bullish move during yesterday, and I think we hit TP during that session, during the session yesterday, we hit TP with about I think 110 pips or 108 pips. I can't really remember. And that is that on the Euro USD. And now I saw an opportunity lining up for us on the Euro USD, and this is basically because of the long-term bearish momentum we've identified on this pair. In the beginning of the week, we remember that we had this temporary bearish trend line, which has been holding price action since mid-April. If you follow me on the chart, we have something like this. We saw the breakdown of that trend line. Then we saw a retracement into that trend line. Then we saw price respect that trend line before before we saw another move to the downside to the demand zone, which held price for I think a week or thereabout. Then we saw multiple rejection of this area before that huge expansion that went sent price all the way down to 1.03500. Now we enjoyed this bullish move yesterday. We took this move, and right now price is right back at that trend line, that bearish trend line. So now at this point, what do you think we should do at this point? Considering the fact that we are on a long-term bearish momentum, and we saw a breakdown of this trend line, this bullish trend line, which also shares a confluence with the key level right at where's the key level at anyway? 1.05200. Now with that trend line, with this bullish trend line broken, and we have it extended into something around this area, it appears that price has come back with that bullish move that happened yesterday. It appears price has come back into this area where we saw this engulfing candle on the 4 hours time frame. At least in the last 12 hours, we saw that price continue to reject area. We saw that price continue to reject that area. So now what I did at this point was that I placed three pending orders anyway at this area. I placed one at 1.054550, 5450, right? I placed one at 1.05368, and I placed another one right below this key level at 1.05185. Now all three are triggered already, and with a very tight stop loss of about 22, 25, 30 pips if you wouldn't mind at this area. And the reason why my pending orders were placed here was basically because if you look closely to what was happening on a lower time frame, that is on the, let's say the 1 hour time frame, for instance, since we took profit target around this area, we begin to see multiple rejection at this point, multiple rejection of 1.05560. We saw multiple rejection throughout the trading session yesterday, and multiple rejection continued into the early hours of today. That is one point. That's one. That gave me a sign that we're having somewhat like a strong area where sellers are trying to push price further down. Then the second one came in the form of this trend line. I saw this bullish trend line on the lower time frame. I think on the 50-minute time frame I saw this, and we witnessed the breakdown of that trend line around this area. I think, was it there? I think it was here, sorry. Yes, I think it was here. So we saw the breakdown of that trend line with a bearish engulfing candle, which sent price all the way down to the key level at 1.05200, after which we saw the rejection of that key level, as if price was going a little bit up, a retest into the previous structure, which is also a retest of that bearish trend line, after we saw like three multiple bearish engulfing candle. So now at this point, I'm already three trades running. So if I were you at this point, below this key level is a safe point for us to join the potential decline if it finally happens. So below the key level, right below, that is 1.05198, is most suitable to join the rally, the decline. So definitely you will be having a take profit target of about 40 pips, 40, 45 pips thereabout. And then we look forward to price respecting that bearish trend line as we hope to see lower lows and lower highs going forward. So I have my take profit target at 1.0300, 1.03 thousand. And why is that so? The reason why that is simply because of this impulse leg identified on the daily time frame, this impulse leg, this bearish impulse leg. After the rejection of that trend line here, we saw that move to the downside. So I did a projection of that impulse leg. However, it took me further than that. I think, was it there? I think it was here, this impulse leg here, I guess. Let's see. Let me see where I took it from. I think, was it here? Oh, I think it was from here. Yes. I chose the supply zone here. I took the impulse level, I projected it into the future, and we had our 127.2% extension at around 1.0300, which is about 250 pips thereabout on this one. So what I'm looking for the EURUSD is this. I'm looking forward to a trend continuation to the downside, and we could add more positions to this despite the fact that we have multiple positions running at this point. And how can we take advantage of that? If you look left, we can see that we had a structure late in April that has been holding price supported for quite some time before we finally saw that breakdown last week. Was it last week? Okay. Yes, yes, last week. We probably saw that breakdown last week, and price appears to come down to this level. Then one thing I want to show you is this: if we see a breakdown of that demand zone one more time at this point, and we see a retest of that trend of that demand zone, or probably retest of that trend line at any point, we should look forward for structures on lower time frame that support a trend continuation to the downside. Then you can actually add one more position to the existing trade running. So that is that on the Euro USD. So I don't know if you have questions. Is anyone with me on this one? So okay. So now moving on. New Zealand is it New Zealand USD? I think. Okay, let's move on to USD CAD. We did USD CAD yesterday, and it was running in profit already, and I made mention of a possibility where if we see a breakdown of that key level, we see a retest, we should take advantage of that. And if you are taking advantage of that, you can see that price is already going down from that area. But unfortunately, we have price coming back into that level. So at this point, you should have moved your stop loss to break even. And if you are taking out, then you know that you neither loss or gain on this one, despite the fact that we are still aiming at this area for our buying opportunity. So let's see how this plays out on the USD card. Now moving on to AUDUSD, I think we have a similar scenario on AUDUSD with that which we had on EURUSD and GBPUSD, I guess. We took advantage of this move yesterday. We took advantage of this move yesterday. Though we didn't hit take profit target, we're still running in profit at this point with two positions running, and we have about 200 pips in total with the two positions running. And remember, I made mention of the possibility that we could be having a reversal pattern within this bullish momentum that could probably send price crashing. And we need to also take into consideration the fact that we are in a long-term bearish momentum. If you allow me to show you what's happening on the daily time frame, we can see that price has been very, very bearish since the beginning of April, and we begin to see lower lows and lower highs. However, our bullish bias that we took on Monday was expected to culminate within this area, after which we are looking for selling opportunities at this point to go down. However, since we took that move, that is, we took that move since price got to 0.70400 thereabouts, we saw multiple rejections of that level, which is more like a reversal pattern. That is, looks more like a triple top structure. We saw multiple rejection into the early hours of today. Throughout yesterday, price was unable to move beyond 0.70400, which gives me a clue, a hint into the strength of the sellers at this juncture in the market. So with a reversal pattern, potential reversal pattern, let me put it that way, are identified around here, we want to be looking for a signal to join this potential decline if it happens. So what do we need to do to take advantage of that if it finally happens? Because it is pertinent that we understand that it is not all potential selling opportunities or potential buying opportunities we just jump into. We really need to look into the structure and figure out a signal that will give us that confidence to join whatever trend is evolving at that particular point in time. So in this particular scenario now, we want to be looking forward to finding a key level that we can work with, which will also serve as a neckline to this reversal pattern identified here on the 1 hour time frame. This reversal pattern here. So the next thing we did was to identify a key level which falls exactly at 0.7, which is also a very strong psychological level. So right at this point, we already have 3 parameters that is going to support our trend continuation to the downside. One is we have a supply zone. We are within a supply zone. If you look left, you can see that this area had been a demand zone for us in the past. And right now, the demand zone was broken, only to become retested to become the new supply zone. Now we are within a supply zone. That's the first parameter we're looking at. The second one is that we saw a reversal pattern. And the third one is a key level we want to use to guide our action going into the New York session. So one thing we want to be looking forward to is a breakdown of that key level. Something like this. We want to look for a breakdown of that key level, and we want to look at the retest of structure, then look for structures that confirm, or probably on a lower time frame, that confirm that we can go bearish on this one. So with that being said, we want to be having our position right below this key level here at 0.69959, which I already have a pending order there. The reason why I'm taking a pending order right away is because I have taken some profit on the AUDUSD. I made around 200 pips thereabouts. My trade is already closed on this one anyway. And if price moves in and break that neckline and goes back up to take me out, that's like how many pips? That's like 50 pips stop loss. Then I know, okay, fine, I'm still profitable on this pair. However, for those who are very, very conscious, and we might want to be looking for a breakdown, then a retest, a confirmation, where we can now take that trade to the downside. So we want to be aiming at, you see, if we look left, we saw that you can still see this trend line, this bearish trend line that was broken on Monday, I guess, was broken. We want to be seeing price, since price broke that trend line from this level, we want to be seeing price to come back down into that trend line in a form of a retest of structure, where we'll be seeing a trend continuation to the upside, or probably a breakdown of that trend line where we'll be looking for a retest into structure to 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 further push the price down. So what I did at this point is to place my take profit target at 0.68250, and why that is so is because one of the trend line, and secondly we have a level here that has been a demand structure in the past. So there is a potential that once price comes back into this level, we could be having a reversal pattern around that area that could push price up. And if you look closely, you can see that this green line also shares a confluence with that trend line that was broken on Monday. So this is my perspective into the AUD USD going into the new day. And at this point, I think we can hold on and see. If you're patient enough, you can hold on and wait for confirmations to join the decline to the downside. So that is that on the AUD USD. Now moving on to New Zealand USD. A similar scenario we have on New Zealand USD, but I'm yet to make a decision on New Zealand USD. We're already in a trade running on New Zealand USD. Unfortunately for me, I only took one trade on this one, and I'm having over, I think, 80 pips running in profit at this moment. And if we look to what we see in this area, so we see something that looks like a reversal pattern at this point. As we can see that since price got into 0.638, we saw multiple rejection of that level. As we can see that buyers were finding it difficult to break through that barrier. So what does it simply means is this: sellers are strong at this point as well. And like I said, this is more like is a similar scenario to that which we have on the I think AUD USD, GBP USD, and Euro USD as well. So all the major pairs of the USD appears to be forming the same structure at this point in time. So personally, the reason why I've not yet taken this is because one, I've moved my stop loss to this area. Remember I told you yesterday stop loss was at 0.63300, where I'm still waiting for that to happen. I'm still waiting for price to take me out. If it's stop loss, then I'll be looking for a retest of structure to join the potential rally to the downside. Then I will be using this trend line, this array of trend lines as my first take profit target, after which I look at what happens afterwards to decide if I want to join the trend to the downside to this profit target around 0.61580. So on a long-term perspective on the New Zealand USD, the maximum take profit target for us here is around this area that we are looking at. And following the Fed Powell speech yesterday, where he was hinting at the possibility that there will not be any policy change, at least based on the expectation that there will be improved supply chain. This might actually rally the dollar in the next couple of days or weeks. So in that regard, we really need to anticipate that. So selling the New Zealand USD, if we see a breakdown, which is a signal and a confirmation, will look more appropriate at this point. However, if we have a breakout of that structure, definitely want to look for retests to add more positions to this. And then we aim at this major bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame. Okay, let's go to GBPUSD. On GBPUSD, I think I'm favoring Patrick right now. It's okay. It's okay. We are going to GBPUSD right now. On GBPUSD, we have a similar scenario on GBPUSD as well. We took a buy trade yesterday. No, 2 days ago, I guess, and we were running in about how many pips there was? I think we started from here and we were around 200, over 200 pips take profit target. But as soon as we got to this area, 1.25 area, I noticed this multiple rejection of that area. That is, after this move, we saw this multiple rejection of this area. So what did I do in that regard? I just placed my pending order here, and I, with this tight stop loss of around 35 pips thereabout, I took this trade, and presently I'm running with about how many pips in profit now? I think 70 pips in profit. And we still have tendency that price might go further down on this one. So if you allow me, let me make this more clear. Let me delete this and allow me to, so we can have things more clear. So now remember that this has been a supply zone for us in the past. That is 0.24 area. 0.24 area has been a supply zone for us in the past. You can see price rejected this area multiple times before we finally saw that breakout yesterday. Now price appears to be coming into that zone at this point, which for anyone who is a price action trader will probably be looking for a reversal pattern at this point, which also shares a confluence with that bullish trend line, and look for structures that support a trend continuation to the upside. However, I am going to have a second thought on that, and the reason why that is because if you look into what is happening on the daily time frame on the GBPUSD, we will notice that we have been on a long-term bearish momentum on this pair. And so before we can actually take any bullish move whatsoever, we really want to see a true completion of a retracement phase to join the potential rally if it will happen. Now, if we look left, we can see that we have one impulse leg here, which is a sell, and common sense would say that let us look for extension of that impulse leg to take our profit. That is, we look to take profit right within this demand zone area at 1.2 area. But we can't just do that right now because things are really changing rapidly on the GBP USD. Now, in the last 3 days now, we've been seeing bullish momentum on the GBP USD. As you can see, 3 engulfing candles already on this one. So if I were you right now, if you are not already in that sell opportunity I took earlier, we want to look for a retracement into probably the golden zone area, after which we see our price react at that point to see if we want to join a potential rally to the upside or a probable trend to the downside. So what this simply means is that we need to bring out our retracement tool at this point to figure out where our golden zone will fall at this point. So with a retracement tool right around this area, we have our golden zone at exactly between 50 and 78.6% retracement of the last impulse leg. So if you allow me to label this place as a take profit, a TP target for sellers, and also it's also and it's also going to be a potential buy continuation area, buy or sell continuation area. So that's how I'm going to put it for now, and allow me to make this a little bit smaller, and let's give it a green, and let's put it right in between, inside. So we delete our retracement tool at this point. So now what we have here is this: we want to see price to retrace into this area, look for reversal patterns around this area to join a rally to the upside, or probably we might possibly see a breakdown of that area and look for structures that support a trend continuation to the downside. So with this area, that is the 1.23 area, being a very significant zone for us now to aim at, going back to a 1 hour time frame, definitely we want to look for price to come down into that area for us to take advantage of a potential buy opportunity or sell continuation to the downside. So with this information in hand, and like I said, if you are not part of this 70 pips move, then probably you might want to be looking forward to taking this other advantage that's around 100 pips for yourself. So what we want to be looking out for at this point is this. Now we have a trend line here. Let me make it a little bit thicker so that we can see it clearer than the others. Okay, a little bit thicker now. So now we want to be looking for structures right below that key level. Sorry, right below that trend line. We already had the breakdown of that trend line. We want to be looking for structures below that trend line. So I'm placing a possible entry point right around this area, 1.23818, for to join a continued rally, continued decline to the downside. And remember, this area has been a supply zone in the past. So what this simply means is that the tendency for sellers to push price from that area as soon as price get to that area is higher, since in the past it has been a niche for the sellers. Now, in addition to what I've said so far, we could probably see a retracement into the neckline of this area before we see that rally to the downside. So if we see a retracement, probably going into the New York session, we see a retracement in this area, we see lower highs around this area, then you want to probably set an entry point right above what you have here and look for an entry and then enter again. So you have two positions running before hitting take profit target around 1.23 or 1.228 area, depending on your wish. So this area right now will be a neckline to see if price retests into that area. Then we look for another opportunity to add position. But if price does not come into this level, then we want to join right below this trend line for around 100 pips thereabout on this one. So that is that on the you're welcome, Patrick. That is that on the GBPUSD. So let's look at gold. I think we had the situation on GBPAUD. If you remember, we had a situation on GBPAUD. I don't know if anyone took this trade. It's in profit already, and we want to see how price is going to play out in the next couple of hours on this one. So like I said yesterday, if we have a breakdown of this area on the GBPAUD and the retest, then we want to add more positions to this. So GBPAUD is profitable. If you took that trade, good to you if you are taking that trade. So everyone wants me to do gold. Gold has, okay, let's look at gold quickly. Let's run through gold quickly. Did anyone take this trade on gold yesterday? Remember, we identified a selling opportunity on gold with entry point at 1,826.454. That was yesterday. Did anyone take that trade? Because presently price is running in profit at this point. Price is running in profit, and I have my stop loss around here in case price moves against me. So with the stop loss around here, we want to see what happens going forward. And if you have not taken this trade, if you are not in this trade already, give me a moment. Let me delete all this so that so if you are not in this trade, we still have this key level as our guide going into the New York session. So we have two things to play with on this one. One is if we have a breakout of that key level, we are going bullish. That is for sure, because since we saw this move to the downside, we saw price move up, we saw a lower high, and then if we see a breakout of that key level at 1832.500, then a retest into that level, we look for structure that supports a trend continuation to the upside. That's that. However, if we still want to sell this and price still appears to go towards the bearish expectation, then we want to look for structures to support that if we have missed this entry that we took yesterday. So how do we do that? Go into our line chart and connecting the lower lows at this point, we will be having something like this. Allow me to return this back to its normal. Okay, we will be having something like this. And after then, if we do have something like this, then this bullish line should guide our action for bullish momentum and probably guide our action for a reversal pattern, for a reversal setup. What do I mean by that? If we are going bullish, we're going to see something like this. We're going to see something like this that will lead to a breakout of that key level, a retest into that key level, probably that trend line, after which we'll be looking for a trend continuation to the upside. However, if we at any point in time during the course of today's trading session and tomorrow, if we see a breakdown of that trend line, then definitely we want to be looking, that will be a signal that we want to be going bearish, and we will be looking for confirmation in the form of a retest of structure, whatever structure that is, probably the trend line or probably previous support level, and look for structures that supports a trend continuation to the downside. So these are the two perspectives I'm looking at on the gold spot. So what structure are we going to be looking for selling opportunities here? So going back to our line chart at this point, and if we go left, we can see that we have a support level around this area. We have a resistance around this area, making this level a strong key level that we can work with going forward. So if we have a key level here at allow me to make this a little bit thicker. So with the key level at what price is that? I think 1805, 1809. Okay, 1808.500, I guess. Give me a moment. Key level at, let's label this for clarity's sake. Key level at 1805.500. I want to place this at the right hand side, at the top. Okay, so we have a key level here that we can work with. And why is that? We can see that we have a support here, we have a resistance here before the breakdown of that support, we have resistance here as well before we saw the breakout of that level, which also shares a breakout of that trend line that we saw here. Then we have a retest of this place, which also shares a confluence with that trend line. Then probably if we see a selling opportunity, breakdown, retest, then we can go on to sell. And also, if we look left also, we can see structures around here where selling opportunities is more visible. That is here. Hold on. We can see around here. So around this area, I hope this is not getting too complicated. If we see price do a lower low around here, then a breakout of that lower low, you can actually do a sell. No, breakdown of a lower low, you look for structures that supports that, then we can join the rally, decline to the downside. After which we see the breakdown of this one, that's the confirmation of the previous support level of the structure. We enter, then the breakdown, we see a retest, we look for structures, we see a breakdown of this, we see a retest of this, then we can add another position to this trade to the downside. So where will our profit target be? Mind you, for me personally, I still see a long-term bullish momentum on the gold. And because of that, we want to use this demand zone as our take profit target for the meantime. And whatever happens from this point will now determine if we want to add to our sell position or we want to join the potential reversal pattern at this point. So I think this is very clear, please, because we had on the gold, we really have too much structures we can work with on the gold, and if we are not careful, we can get lost in the brouhaha on this chart. So let me recap on the gold. Let me do a quick recap on the gold. We have possibilities of selling momentum, and at the same time, we have possibilities of bullish momentum on this one. And like I said, we had this trade yesterday. I don't know if you nobody said anything about if he or she took that trade, but I personally took this trade here yesterday, and I shared this during our live session yesterday, where this move finally happened and price came back into this level. So I'm looking forward to a breakdown of this trend line, a retest of that trend line to join to add more positions to the selling to my sell position. However, if that does not happen and we continue to see lower highs at this point, then we will use this bullish trend line as our guide going forward to guide a bullish momentum. And if we finally see a breakout of that structure, then that really confirms that we are in for a very strong and massive bullish move, because a breakout of that key level at 1832.500 will definitely be going to be very massive. So that is my perspective on the gold, and let's see how price action plays out as we slowly creep into the New York session. And remember, the Fed Powell's news yesterday is has a tendency of doing a rally of the dollar. And in that regard, let's just see what price action does. And like I said yesterday, I wish we had two sessions in a day where I can actually do a follow-up later in the evening where we can quickly look at what has been happening. Then we can prepare against the Asian, Australia, and probably the UK session on the following day. So at this point, we already run out of time. We're 15 minutes out of time. Can I quickly do a quick recap of what we've done so far? Let me see if I can quickly do like 10 seconds each on each recap. So first of all, we talked about UK oil, and on UK oil, we said we are looking for structures right above that key level at 112.500, where we are looking for opportunity to go bullish on that one. And I said if we have a breakdown of this trend line, then we want to be looking for structures in the form of a breakdown of that trend line, retest into that key level area where we look for patterns that support a trend continuation to the downside. However, I said something. I said I won't be taking any sell opportunity for this one, as I'm looking for a long-term bullish momentum where I'm going to be waiting for price to test our 109.300, which is our key level at this point, major key level at this point, for a rally to the upside. However, at this point, this trend line here, for to make things more simple for you, I've identified a key level here at 112.500, and we identify this trend line here, which can guide our actions going forward. So at this point, if you are following the trend line, your trade will have been triggered for buy opportunity at this point. And kindly, I will advise you, please use this trend line as your guide. We want to continue to see lower lows and lower highs. We want to continue to see higher lows and higher highs to support the bullish momentum, not lower lows and not lower highs, please. So that is that on the UK oil. Now we move forward to Euro USD, where we have a trade already running on Euro USD, and I said we have an opportunity right under that key level, where I told you that I took an advantage of that position at 1.05470, and we want to be looking forward to we've seen a breakdown of that key level at 1.05200, and we want, and which also shares a confluence with that bearish trend line. So we are looking for a reversal pattern around this area to join the trend continuation to the downside. So if you are going for the Euro USD, please kindly use 1.05200 as your, and the trend line as your yardstick going into the New York session. So moving on to USD CAD. USD CAD was profitable, and we said we have our stop loss right here, and if we are taking out, then definitely we know that we are neither profitable nor lost on this trade. So that is that on the USD CAD. Then going on to the AUDUSD, we said we have a scenario where we have a reversal pattern here on the 1 hour time frame, and we are looking for a signal in the form of a breakdown of that key level, that very, very important key level at 0.7, where we're looking for a breakdown and a retest of that key level to join the decline to the downside on the AUD USD. And finally, on the GBPUSD, we said something about this. I'm already on this trade, like I told you, and I said if we want to be enjoying this downtrend continuation, we still have like around 100 pips there about to play with on this one. We can enter right at this area, which is right below that trend line, bullish trend line at 1.23825, which is also within that the previous supply zone, where sellers patch to take advantage from the buyers. And I also made mention the fact that there is a possibility that price might come back into this neckline where we look for structures that support a trend continuation to the downside. So we have two places where we can enter the sell opportunity, and that if we see a reversal structure around here, that is one. Then if we see one around here, that's another one here. So we'll be having a take profit target between 1.226 and 1.2223 area for a take profit target. So that is that on the GPUs. And before I close, I said that if we come into this area is more of an area where we can be looking for a reversal pattern, and at the same time a reversal pattern for a trend continue to the upside, and at the same time probably a breakdown of this area, a retest that will probably send price going to the downside. So these are my views today, and I look forward to the New York session with high hopes, and I hope you do too as well. And on this note, I want you to excuse me and let's call it a day. And I wish you best of luck today, and do have a beautiful afternoon. Thank you very much for being with me, and do have a wonderful day. Cheers.